right, welcome. Now we're going over Chapter 4 in your textbook about the law enforcement hiring process. We've covered how an application is filled out and then a written test is done. And generally at this point, either the oral board interview or the physical agility test or physical fitness test is done. So we're going to talk about the difference between the agility and fitness tests and what's included in them. All right, so the job of an officer requires many different things. You are busy, and I have a list of different things that are done here. And so because of that, agencies and each state peace officer standards require that law enforcement officers that are certified at the state be physically fit in order to do many things in the list right there. All right, I always recommend to anybody interested in going into the law enforcement field to talk to their doctor first. Your general physician is going to be confidential with you. You can let them know what you're thinking about doing, let them know what kind of tests you're going to take, and can look and do a physical of your overall health to ensure that you are in proper physical condition to go through the testing process. So how do agencies decide whether they're going to use the physical agility test or the physical fitness test? Well, it just depends. I have seen agencies, even my agency started out using the physical fitness test and then they switched to the agility test and then they went back to the physical fitness test. Some states such as Oregon, a lot of them do what's called the Oregon Physical and Agility Test or the ORPAT acronym. Or we also have some, like Oregon State Police, that follows more of a military standard where you have basically a 1.5 to 2 mile timed run, push-ups, sit-ups, and so on and so forth. All right, so is the physical agility test different from the physical fitness test? Yes, it is. Because they're testing two different things. Physical abilities checked. I have a list here so you can look at them. And so now we're going to go into what is that agility test? Well, for example, on the Oregon Physical Agility Test or the ORPAT, you're doing a beamed walk, a controlled fall, a crawl, a dummy drag, possibly IDing a suspect, jumping over an obstacle. There's a push-pull machine, stair simulator. There could be a wall or fence climb, possibly a window climb. And all of these things have been determined throughout testing, research, and review that during a typical week on the job, a law enforcement officer may have to do all these things. So that is what the physical agility test is doing, is combining them all to see how the candidate prepares. So how does a person prepare for the physical agility test? Well, that is done by doing a lot of the lists that I have here, and also in the textbook there is a number of different examples as well, and there's also in the online version with the additional references for the textbook, there's videos on how to prepare and do different things for training. All right, the agility test, that's the push-pull machine of the ORPAT, and it can be done. It's difficult, but what people have a lot of hard time with is learning the maneuver and where you have to put your body and how much momentum you put in your arms and your hands and your feet. And so a lot of times, if you have the ability to prepare beforehand or go through and test out certain parts of the test, do it. It's just going to give you that much more self-confidence. If not, I have a list on the right that you can do to prepare as well as the video references online. All right. The physical fitness test doesn't really look at whether you can climb through a window or crawl under a certain length or do a push or pull machine. They are looking at whether you can run 1.5 miles or 2 miles in a specific amount of time, how many push-ups you can do in a specific amount of time. Same with sit-ups. Some add a 300-meter sprint, some do a vertical jump, some do a trigger pull, and some do a flexibility test. The top 3 are the most common. The bottom 4 on this list are not as common but are done. All right, for the physical fitness test, a better way to train is actually running, doing aerobic activities, and weight training. All right, push-ups. There's lots of questions on how to do a correct push-up. So if you are getting ready to go to the academy, there's lots of push-ups that are done. So here is a written view of how to do push-ups, and there's also a video on the online references. Here are the common mistakes made up that are done in push-ups, and if you try to do this during the physical fitness test, they don't count. So if you are getting ready to take that, make sure you look through this or read through to see what some common mistakes are. And for training, there's about 4 different types of push-ups I recommend for training, and those are also shown in video on the online reference. All right, sit-ups. Here is a list on how to do a proper sit-up. And interval training is a really good way to train for sprinting and for the agility test as well. Here is a list of how to prepare for the vertical jump. Trigger pull, this talks about a couple ways you can train for that. Flexibility test, I think it's all great if we're all flexible, so I highly recommend looking at the flexibility test and preparing for that. All right, this ends chapter 4. We'll see you for the next video.